Hello, and thank you for exploring Lakehead International's videos. My name is Jordan, and I am the International New and Social Media Officer. I'm also the host of the Lakehead International Live series, a fun and informative way for you to connect with current international students, professors, and ask questions about admissions and everything Lakehead. You are about to watch a recording from one of our previous live sessions. If any questions arise throughout the video, please do not hesitate to comment below. If you would like to check out some of our upcoming live sessions, please head over to our website at lakeheadu.ca/international-live. Let's begin. Hello and welcome to another Lakehead International Live. I'm your host today. My name is Jordan Ball. I'm your International New and Social Media Officer. Today we're going to be chatting about next steps in the admissions process. I'm joined by Hector, who is one of our International Recruitment Officers. I'll introduce myself first and I'll pass it over to him, and then we'll kick things off and we'll dive into it. So for those of you who haven't joined one of our live webinars before, thanks again for joining. My name is Jordan. I'll be walking us through today's webinar. Of course, Hector will be helping me moderate. We'll be working behind the scenes. We're also joined by Paula behind the scenes, who's helping answer questions, and we're going to really dive into it. So I'll pass over to Hector to introduce himself and what he does here at Lakehead, and then we'll dive into it.
Thank you, Jordan. Hello, everyone. My name is Hector Michelena, and I'm one of the International Recruitment Officers here at Lakehead, like Jordan mentioned. My main role is to help prospective students like you find the right program here at Lakehead University for you and guide you through the admissions and applications process. So very similar to what we're going to be doing today, but mostly on a one-on-one basis. So yeah, I'm happy to be here and be able to, cover this information with you guys.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for helping me out today, Hector. For those viewers that are watching, of course, I'll preface today's webinar is really going to dive into the steps following after submitting your application. So we're going to chat about submitting your documents, admissions, course registration, paying fees, connecting with other students. We have so much to cover, which I should probably talk about on the agenda page, what we're going to cover. So first we'll talk about upcoming events. Then we're going to briefly dive into your application status here at Lakehead. Then we'll chat about next steps, which includes quite a few different steps there. We'll chat about paying fees, course registration, connecting with fellow students. And then at the very end of today's live event, we will host a Q&A period. And so we'll dive right into it. But to kick things off, we're going to chat about some upcoming events. And so next week, we do have an in-depth, or this week, pardon me, we have an in-depth with computer science. So Wednesday, March 24th at 9 a.m. We'll be joined by a faculty member from computer science and really going to dive into that program. Look at first year at a glance, look at unique learning opportunities, outstanding alumni, career opportunities, all sorts of things. Following that, though, we're going to chat with biology in the upcoming week, and then economics. And then following that, we also have psychology and nursing. So we have quite a few programs to get through over the next couple of weeks, but hopefully you'll be able to join us for one of those. You can register for these sessions at lakeheadu.ca/international-live. Also next week, we have a session dedicated to careers, co-op, and employment. So that's Monday, March 22nd at 9 a.m. And then the following week on Tuesday, actually, it will be applying for your student visa. And so you can register for either one of those sessions on our website now. Upcoming within the Lakehead Explored series, you also have the Getting Involved in Student Life. You have student supports, residence and dining, and meeting your future student advisors. And so those are just a few of the upcoming webinars, a little taste for you. We do hope that you'll join one of those two to begin learning about that transition to Lakehead University. Things to remember: if you like what you see, don't worry, we are recording. We will send out the link afterwards. So if you receive invites to these events by email, you will also receive next week's invite, which includes the previous week's recordings, or they're linked onto our YouTube channel. If you do have questions, I encourage you to solely use the Q&A function. The Q&A function will help us organize all of those questions. It's different from the chat. The chat is for maybe connecting with fellow students or just making comments, but questions, we try and all keep it in within the Q&A. If you're watching this as a recording on our YouTube, you can always watch below or comment below, pardon me, and we'll be happy to address it afterwards. And a friendly reminder to stay connected, follow us on our social media channels for updates about future events, future webinars, but also to get an insider sneak peek into Lakehead University. Without further ado, we'll launch things off with the status of your Lakehead application. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch a poll where our audience can participate. And the question is, what level of study are you pursuing? So are you pursuing an undergraduate, a graduate, or an academic English program? For more clarity, undergraduate includes bachelor degrees, graduate includes both masters and PhDs, and academic English program is our English language program for those students who might not satisfy the English language requirements of joining a Canadian university. You can absolutely join us here in our AEP program, and hopefully we'll get you into your academic program sooner than later. So I'll give it a couple more minutes here, maybe 10 seconds or so, and then we'll chat about the results, and it will help us guide to see who's joined us today. There's quite a few of you online, so thank you again for joining us. I'll end the poll now, and I'm going to share the results. So we have a really strong outcome from graduate students. So we have 42 graduate students online. We have 18 undergrads, so really strong. And then we do have someone from AEP, so we're really excited to have them as well. So we know we have lots to cover today, Hector, and I will dive right into it in the next steps of your application. And so for those of you who have applied to an academic program here at Lakehead University, whether it's an undergraduate or a graduate program, some of these statuses might be ringing some bells for you. You might be familiar with them, whether they were in your offer letter, whether they're on your MyInfo student portal, whether you've heard them just in general. These are pretty common terminologies when it refers to your offer of admission or your letter of acceptance. And so on the left-hand side, you'll see offers or statuses of your application where you have made it to Lakehead. So congratulations to those folks. There's three statuses I want to focus on though. So there's admitted conditionally. ADC is the code. I'm not sure if you'll see that code, whether it will be communicated to you on your MyInfo account. But admitted conditionally is a full title. That is where we do still need final documents. Our admissions teams do need to confirm final details or final marks or grades after your final transcripts are published. It is a conditional offer. Admitted, so just ADM, is admitted with no conditions. So it's an unconditional offer letter. And you are able to use that in many cases for a lot of different steps in this process. ELI is eligible to register. I imagine that a vast majority of you are not ELI yet. Course registration has not opened for fall 2021, nor has it opened, as far as I know, for spring quite yet. So those are just some of the statuses you might see if you've already received an offer from Lakehead. You may have received a response from us, or you may have received further communication from us, which then actually comes back to our other statuses, which includes incomplete, pending, and refused. So incomplete applications simply means that application is incomplete and we require more info. So maybe you haven't submitted your grades, maybe you haven't submitted your English language proficiency requirements. Maybe you have only submitted a few of your grades, but they were too in progress for us to make a decision. Pending is your application is complete, but the decision has not yet been reached. So that's probably where quite a few of you are right now, where the application has been fully submitted. You've done all of the necessary steps, whether you're a graduate student and you've already submitted your reference letters, or you're an undergrad student and you're wrapping up your final year of high school. Maybe you've just submitted those midterm marks. We probably have enough information, or we do have enough information if your status is pending at this point. We simply have not reached an admission decision. For undergraduate students, we strive to shoot between 4 to 6 weeks in our response time once we've received a complete application. For graduate studies, it does vary, and we'll dive into that later on in the webinar. And then refused, REF, does represent whether or not if your application to Lakehead has been refused by our admissions team. Of course, within that refusal, they will note specific reasons as to why. If you have any questions about any of your statuses, any of your application details, your letter of acceptance, your offer of admission, please do not hesitate to reach out to either one of our international recruitment officers or the admissions teams themselves. The admissions teams, of course, will be able to comment on specific information related to maybe a refusal or missing documents, whereas our international recruitment officers, if, for example, you've been admitted and you want to move to that next step of applying for your visa, they would be happy to help in that too. And so with that being said, I want to say congratulations to everyone who has an offer right now. The next stages of now getting to Lakehead and really securing your seat is going to be outlined in the next stages of today's webinar. So it does include quite a few next steps. So we are actually going to bring it back a bit. So even if you have that offer, the next few slides might not be too relevant for you. I hope that they are because you've done them. But if you've just recently applied to Lakehead, or maybe you haven't yet accessed your MyInfo student portal, the next few slides are really important to you. And I'm going to pass it over to Hector to kick it off with the acknowledgement email.
Excellent. Thank you, Jordan. So yes, once you have created your profile and have paid your application fee, you will receive automatically an acknowledgement email where you will find your student ID number, which is very important for you to keep, as well as your username and your password for my info portal, okay, which is our student platform. So it's very important as well that you check your spam folder if you think you haven't received it, because it's an automatic email. So sometimes it just goes straight to the spam folder. If you do not get it, you can always contact us. Maybe your firewall or something like that. It's extremely strong, and I don't know, emails are getting rejected. But again, these will give you the credentials for you that you're going to be using throughout your program here at Lakehead University. It'll be your student number and your username and password for MyInfo, okay? I don't know if we need to add anything else here, but I think we can pass. Perfect. So again, yeah, just keep them handy. You will need them to check your application status, to upload your documents. So it's very important for you to know that once you pay your application fee and complete your student profile, you need to log into MyInfo in order for you to upload your admissions documents, okay? So once you create your profile, that's great, but we will need your admissions documents, so all the admission requirements for us to be able to assess your application. Without that, we cannot move forward. So anyways, once you get your username and password, you will get into MyInfo, and on the right, on the top right corner, you will see an email icon, and that is where you will start getting all of your emails from us, okay? Sometimes if you apply for an undergraduate program, you're also going to get it to your personal email. That it depends on the information you provide, okay? So you will get your acknowledgement email, and then the next steps would be just uploading your documents. You do not need to make a separate application for your scholarships, but if there's any bursaries or awards that are available, you can apply for those. And then you can also, through MyInfo, apply to residence and sign up for orientation.
For sure. On this slide here, I specifically want to note is that in some cases, some departments at Lakehead University are going to be sharing information with you that's specific to you. And simply is that they won't share that information or send you an email to your personal email. So although when you do apply to Lakehead University, you do include a personal email address, we receive that information, and our team here in Lakehead International is often communicating with you via that email, whether it's on our welcome account, whether it's our international recruitment advisors, or it's me sending you invites to events just like this. We're regularly using that personal email. However, we want to make sure that you're also familiar with your My Email, which is your Lakehead email. It's a Gmail, technically. It's through the Gmail suite, at least. And through that, you'll have access to quite a few amazing things, including Google Calendar, and Google Drive, which is their cloud software for saving documents. I myself have hundreds of thousands of documents on my Google Drive. I probably take up a fair share of space here at Lakehead. But with that being said, it's very important that you're monitoring this email because you are going to receive important updates, whether it is about your application, your next steps, your scholarships, bursaries, awards, residence, orientation. I know that that seems like it's probably quite a far time away, but we like to begin orientation really early here at Lakehead. And so this summer, if you're joining us in fall 2021, you'll probably start to receive orientation notices and reminders and participation events, all that sort of stuff, even in June, if not July. And so I encourage you to certainly monitor this on a regular basis. And you can access this, like Hector was saying, either through your MyInfo account, which is going to be that same username and password, they're all connected, or you can log in via Lakehead's website on the My Email portal. So I'll pass it back to Hector, who's going to chat a bit about MyInfo in depth.
Perfect. So again, MyInfo is a student portal or information portal where you will find all the information you need in order to, again, upload your documents, check your application status, to sign up for classes, to make payments, absolutely everything. Okay. The slide just got a little bit wonky here, but perfect. No, that's okay. Again, very important for you to constantly be checking the information on MyInfo. And I guess the next step would be just going through your applicant tab, okay? Or when you just submit your application, what you need to do and what you need to pay attention to. So once you submit your application, you need to upload your documents. Please go to MyInfo, log in with the credentials you were provided on your acknowledgement email. And on the left side, you're going to find different tabs, okay? In our case, we have a home, applicant, student, and for those who work at Lakehead University, we have an employee, and those who graduated from Lakehead University have an alumni tab. In your case, you probably will have home, applicant, and student. Make sure you go to the applicant tab, and then that'll take you to a different page where you will find 3 different stages.
Awesome. Before we jump to that, Hector, I'll note here, if you're looking at the photo on the right here, where you actually see the full MyInfo screen, like Hector was mentioning, then there's that email icon, which you can click to. And once you actually open the email icon, it will launch your Gmail, which then, of course, I still encourage you to monitor. But like Hector was saying, the most important space within MyInfo for you right now is going to be the applicant tab. And so we're going to chat about that in just a second. But like Hector was mentioning, we do, of course, in this screenshot, you'll see student, employee, and alumni. Those are mine specifically. I don't believe for right now you will see any of those 3. For sure, you won't see employee and alumni unless you're out there and working with us. But student will become active over the next few months. As you become eligible to register, they will launch that tab for you, or if you're building your pre-registration. So we'll chat about all that though. Next, I'll pass over to Hector to chat about your application status and expectations for timelines.
So yes, here's where we'll start answering a few of the questions on the Q&A. There's a lot of questions about when will I receive an offer letter. So very important, we cannot make an admissions decision if we do not have documents uploaded on MyInfo to assess your application, okay? So once you have submitted all of your application documents, okay, it's when our admissions team can start assessing your application. For undergraduate programs, the admissions decisions can be made between 4 to 6 weeks after you submit all of your documents, okay? If you're a transfer student and you have taken classes at a university level or college level, your application might take a little bit longer because then we need to assess all of the classes that you have taken at another institution to see if they're, if we can confer any transfer credits for your program here at Lakehead University, and that process takes a little bit longer, okay? For graduate applicants, it's a little bit different. So our graduate admissions team will create a file for your application or for you, and there they will add all of the documents that you need to submit in order to complete your application, okay? In there, we, as you know, if you're a graduate applicant, you needed to submit 3 academic references. Until we do not receive all of your documents and the answers for those 3 academic reference, that file is not passed on to the selection committee or the faculty that you're applying to, okay? So it's very important for you to know that we need to receive all of your documents and that we need to hear from your 3 academic references, okay? The time frame varies. It may take from a month up to 3 months, depending on the complexity of, the application, if it's a graduate or a PhD application. The other thing that it's important to note is that meeting the minimum admission requirement does not guarantee admission to the program. So our graduate application, our graduate programs, or the admission process for the graduate programs here at Lakehead University is very competitive. And sometimes, again, meeting the minimum admission requirement does not guarantee admission, okay? So what happens is you might meet all the admission requirements, and the way it works is the admissions team will, or not the admissions team, the faculty of the program, the selection committee of the program you applied to will assess your application, will compare it to the other applicants within that applicant pool, okay? And the ones that are the most competitive are the ones receiving an offer. So again, it takes a little bit of time for them to assess all the applications and go through that process. So there's not a straight answer that it's gonna take 3 weeks, 6 weeks, a month. So we just encourage you to be patient. If you're incredibly anxious, you need an application status update, you can always contact our graduate admissions team, and then they can help you. Just make sure that you give them a little bit of time from the moment all of your documents were submitted and your references were received for them to be able to assess your admissions or your application, sorry.
For sure. And to add to that, one thing I really want to impress upon our audience today is that for graduate students, the key takeaway here is that the graduate studies admissions team will not release your files to the admissions committee until they have a complete application. And so if you've submitted a vast majority of your documents, but you haven't submitted all of them, they cannot provide that to the admissions committee within the faculty or department. And so with that being said, you can't be assessed for admissions. So although maybe you applied back in February, you've submitted most of your documents and you're still waiting to hear, that's typical because they probably haven't released your application yet because you still have to submit more documents. So if you're questioning that, that's where the next slide really comes into play, or one of the upcoming slides about your offers and outstanding documents. And so on this slide, Hector, I'll pass it over to you to just briefly chat where students can access application statuses.
Yeah, we actually just have a question here asking that. So
perfect.
If you go to your applicant tab and you scroll a little bit down, and you will find the 3 phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. You will find that the first step on the phase 1 would be check my application status, okay? So there you will see if your documents have been received, and as well as, if any decision has been made. When you just have completed your application, there will be nothing there. Once we receive your documents and a decision have been made, then you'll see the status change or documents received or, offer of admission made or something like that. I don't review online application status. Okay, so for graduate students, it's the same. It'll be just down the page, not on the 3 phases of the undergraduate application, but if you scroll down, you will find the graduate section, and then you can just review your online application status. There you will see if we have received your references, and if not, you can again just reach out to your references to make sure that they have submitted the response or the answers to the email we send them.
Awesome. And something to note here too is that, of course, although when we do update your status, it is reflected immediately on My Info. If you submit documents or if you mail us documents, it's definitely, you have to anticipate there might be a bit of a delay in actually processing the documents. And so keep in mind that if you do submit that transcript, if you upload your documents, you might not see a reflected status change in the next day. It might take a few days for us to change that, or potentially multiple weeks, depending on whether or not that was the final document that now can go to the admissions committee or that we would be able to make an admissions decision on. So please be patient. But again, like Hector mentioned, if you have any questions specific for our admissions team, if you're confused about the next step, or if you need more clarity on what they further need for your application, please do not hesitate to reach out to them. Both admissions teams are really happy to work with our applicants on making sure that they complete their full application. So the next step is outstanding documents and submitting those. And so I'll let Hector chat about that.
Yeah, great. So again, some students forget that they need to submit documents, or sometimes you upload some, but you don't upload all of them. So it's important for you to know that you need to submit your official and unofficial transcripts, okay, depending on the stage. So if you have already completed all your studies, you can submit your unofficial transcripts, and then admissions will let you know how to submit the official transcripts. But as soon as you complete your profile, in order to complete your application, you need to submit your unofficial documents, the language proficiency test scores, or the letter explaining how you're going to meet that English proficiency. If you're a transfer student, then you will need to submit the course description and syllabus of every single class you took in order to see if you can get any transfer credits towards your Lakehead University program. Those syllabus need to be in English. For the media, film, and communications program or the music program, you will need to provide a portfolio or an audition, either international recruitment officer like me can help you through the process of submitting that once you have them. We can explain what the requirements are. We can help you contact the department and get all that information for you. But usually for the auditions nowadays, it's through a video. And the portfolio, you can submit it via email as well.
For sure. And online too, we have plenty of resources that outline exactly this non-academic requirements for these two programs. For a vast majority of undergraduate programs, you do not require any additional non-academic requirements, no references, no CVs or resumes. It's simply based on academic merit in most cases. So like Hector was saying, that official transcript or that unofficial or in-progress transcript, that's the key document that's going to get you set up for undergraduate studies. And if you are looking to meet those language proficiency requirements, there's a few different methods there. All of this is published on our website, though. That's really what I want to impress upon, is that you can find all the resources and all of the steps outlined even in further greater detail with the proper links, all that sort of stuff on our website. Next, we'll chat about graduate applicants and uploading documents. I'll pass back to Hector.
I was just going to mention that you just answered one of the questions that all the admissions process for the graduate and undergraduate programs is based on academic merit, mostly for the undergraduate program. There's students asking, well, what kind of activities can help my application, how can I get admitted to Lakehead University? Are there any activities that I can practice in order to help my application? So it's for the undergraduate program, it's based on academic merit. So your last year of high school, we use the GPA, like the grade point average or GPA of your last year of high school to determine your admission to the program, plus if you have taken all the course prerequisites. So that's, for example, if you're applying for an engineering program, you need to have taken math, chemistry, physics, depending on the kind of biology, on the kind of engineering, for example, you're applying to. Yeah, I think that answers the question that if are there any activities that would help my application process? So for graduate admissions, let's see, you need to, as part of your application process, you need to submit the contact information of those 3 academic references we've been talking about. It is an electronic reference form that will be sent to those 3 references you provided. They need to reply before your application moves forward, okay? So it's very important that when you contact them to, see if they can be your reference, you ask them to make sure that they reply to the email as soon as they receive it or as soon as possible, because if not, your application will not move forward until we receive those. You can change your referees, your references. But that change, it's also made online through my info. And you can check which ones were received and which ones are pending, and you can change that through my info, okay? You need to submit your transcripts, proof of degree, and any other supporting documents that are outlined on the requirements of the program you're applying to, okay? As well as the English proficiency test results.
Perfect. So unfortunately, I can't check the Q&A right now. I'm sure we have a few questions rolling in about outstanding documents and whatnot. If there's other topics though that are being asked about, don't worry, we still have a few more slides to go through on the next steps. And then to remind our viewers, we do have a dedicated Q&A period at the end of today's session. So now that we've walked through that whole process of preparing your admissions and getting ready to accept that offer, hopefully, we've set you up so that you are accessing your student portal, your My Info account. You're accessing your My Email, which is a Gmail account technically, and you are uploading your documents. You're following and you're tracking your application status. You're really being an active participant in the entire admissions process. And then hopefully we arrive at this stage where now you have your offer in hand, or digitally at least you have that PDF copy of it. So I'll pass over to Hector to chat about accepting your offer of admission, which can be done online on your My Info account, and then we'll move into your confirmation deposit, which is securing your spot through that acceptance.
Absolutely. So this is a very exciting moment where you get to accept your offer. For the undergraduate program, when you apply to our undergraduate programs, you get 2 choices, okay? So if you have been admitted to your 2 choices, here's where you need to come to a decision, I guess. You need to select one of those choices and accept your offer for that program and reject the other one, okay? So it's a very simple process. You just click where it says accept my offer. You will click you will see the program you applied to and that you were admitted. And then there's a button that says accept offer. As soon as you accept the offer, it'll ask you to confirm it, and that automatically declines the other offer. Okay.
On a note there, Hector, for those students who may have applied to 2 programs or even more than 2 programs at Lakehead, if you do accept one offer, in a vast majority of cases, if you change your mind in a couple of weeks, even in a month or leading up to the program, you do have the opportunity most likely to change your program or start in a different program, provided you've been admitted and accepted to that program. There are a few limited enrollment where numbers, of course, are a huge cap here. And so if you're questioning that, if you're really unsure, I encourage you to connect with our international recruitment team. So somebody who is in your country, in your region, and they'll be able to advise you. You could also connect with one of our international student advisors. So they're dedicated international student advisors, or potentially even our Student Central team, and you can ask them these exact questions. Program changes are seamless here at Lakehead, and we do our best to make sure that students are able to pursue the proper path, whether or not they change their mind before they join us, or maybe a year or 2 in even. We want to make that process simple. And so what I want to impress upon here is that if you're an undergraduate student and you have applied to multiple programs, your acceptance into one program or you're accepting an offer of one program might not be finite. If you change your mind, let us know, communicate that with us, and we can at least help you in that next step. But I'll pass it back to Hector to chat about the graduate side, and then we can chat about confirmation deposits.
Yes, absolutely. So something that I also wanted to mention is that there's a few questions about, where can I find my deadline to accept the offer. So that will be on your letter of admission. Okay, your letter of admission will have at the end of the letter 3 steps. First is accepting your admission offer, then it's paying the confirmation deposit, and then registering for classes. So the deadline for you to accept your offer will be in your letter of admission. If you have not received your letter of admission, don't worry. Once you receive it, again, all the details of when you need to meet the conditional or the conditions of your admissions, if you received a conditional acceptance, will be there, as well as the deadline to accept your admission and to confirm your admission. Okay, so everything will be in your letter of admission. If you have any problems like finding the information, just reach out to us and we will help you find it. Okay. For the graduate students, it's even simpler. It's just to click. Once you click here on accept my offer, it'll take you to a different page where you can see the program you applied to, the fact that you were admitted, and just click accept, and you completed that first step of your admission. And you just have to make sure that you do it before the deadline stated in your letter of admission or letter of acceptance, and then make sure that you do not let the deadline of the confirmation deposit pass. And I think Jordan, here's where, I don't know if you...
Yeah, I can jump in for sure. So a part of that accepting your offer, the next stage is paying your confirmation deposit. So for many of you, you may not have heard of confirmation deposit, or you may not be familiar with it. Confirmation deposits are a small deposit that is applied towards your tuition fees when you start, that will hold your seat essentially. And so it ensures that by paying $500 for graduate or undergraduate, or $750 for graduate, we will hold your seat for you. So we won't give it to another student, we won't give it to another applicant. You will be able to hold that seat. When you join us on campus, so if you're joining us this fall and you start and you're getting ready to pay for your tuition, so that first tuition payment is actually in mid-August, the $500 or the $750 will be applied directly to the tuition. And so you can essentially subtract it. So the money is not lost. It still goes directly to your student accounts. And it does count towards your tuition or even potentially your residence. It essentially applies to your bill at Lakehead University. And so the money is used and applied in the future. It just holds your seat at this time. And so whether you're undergraduate, you would go to your phase 2 under the applicant tab of My Info. you would click pay my confirmation deposit. Unless you've applied through OUAC, then you would submit your confirmation deposit a bit differently. And then if you're on the graduate side, again, you go to My Info, the applicant tab, scroll down to the graduate section, and then confirmation deposit form. So paying your confirmation deposit for undergrad is done through My Info, whereas on graduate side, it's actually a form that you complete through the payment process. And that's actually what we're going to chat about next, is paying your fees. This is obviously a popular question. Students are always curious, how can I pay my fees? I'm not too sure. There's plenty of ways. You can see 8 here, and this actually isn't an exhaustive list technically. There are still other methods that we don't get into because they're less popular essentially. But we have electronic transfer through Global Pay. We have a credit card option through TouchNet PayPath. We have online banking, which is only for Canadian banking institutions. We accept money orders and bank drafts. We also accept cash. For those graduate students who are in their master's or PhD, if you have a graduate assistantship or a GA-ship, we like to say, you can apply those fees directly to your student account. If you've received a scholarship, bursary award, or graduate award, so for those undergraduate students getting one of Canada's most generous international entrance scholarships, that will also be applied to your accounts directly. And then the final option listed here is sponsorship. So if you've made an agreement with a company, with an organization to sponsor you while you're here studying with us at Lakehead University, our accounts team will actually work directly with that sponsor to complete that funding. They will most likely pay via one of the methods listed above, but it's not directly you paying those bills necessarily. So some of those popular methods, I'll chat briefly about them, include electronic transfer or global pay. So the beautiful thing about global pay is that you get to pay in your home currency. It is cost effective and timely. And global pay is provided by Western Union Business Solutions. So for anyone who's maybe dealt with something similar or paying fees to an international organization, global pay is quite popular for paying those fees. We see many of our students do it. If you wish to use a credit card, we have a system through TouchNet PayPath. There are credit card fees associated with this. So please keep that in mind when you are taking that into consideration. And then the other option is online banking, so Canadian banks only. So for those applicants or for those students who maybe have a family member in Canada, maybe they have a brother or a sister, an aunt or a relative that can access a Canadian bank, currently lives in Canada and has a Canadian bank, or for those of you who maybe just have a Canadian banking institution already, you can do online banking, and simply you log into your Canadian banking website. You add Lakehead University as a payee or a company. So when you submit that payment, will be recognized. And then your student ID is actually going to be the account number with us here at Lakehead University. It's the one simple way, the Lakehead ID is the one simple way for us to track applicants, current students, alumni, staff even. And so it's our one-stop ID that really references you. If you need assistance with any of this, we're very happy to have a dedicated international accounts officer. His name is Chris Gallinger. And so he only handles international accounts, and he is always happy to help our international students. I'm sure we'll see him in the future on one of these webinars with our international student services team. When tuition payment starts coming up and that deadline starts approaching, we definitely get him online and he'll walk us through this in full details. This information is also posted on our website and accessible online now, though. So the next stage is course registration. So we've gone through the process. You've accepted your offer. You've been admitted to Lakehead University first and foremost, but you've accepted your offer. You've paid your confirmation deposit, and now we're getting ready for a course registration. And so before registering, it's really important that you review the university's academic calendar. The university calendar contains information such as our regulations, faculty regulations, department regulations, as well as program requirements and course descriptions. So it really gives you a full breakdown of exactly which courses you'll be required to complete in your degree, and whether or not there's specific courses, a specific type of course, or the number of courses you have to take. And so all that information is accessible on your university academic calendar. I'll be upfront with you, it can be overwhelming seeing it for the first time. And that's absolutely fine. We know that, we anticipate that, and so we will have plenty of course registration webinars and sessions upcoming in June and July as course registration opens. For both undergraduate and graduate, we typically open course registration at the end of June, beginning of July to mid-July. It does range and vary depending on what program, what year level you're entering, all that sort of stuff, but we'll kick it off with undergraduate. So again, we want you to consult that academic calendar. You can plan and prepare your courses, especially once that course timetable comes out for the fall 2021. You'll be able to properly start to plan out when you want to take courses, what days you want to be busy. Maybe you want Fridays off, can you swing that? You'll use on your MyInfo your pre-registration builder. So building that pre-registration, which is going to be available in early June for fall entry students, will allow you to actually set up a mock schedule with real courses. After course registration opens, even the same morning, 2 minutes after 9 o'clock, it seems to always be 9 o'clock that they open it up here. You can actually use that pre-registration builder and simply proceed to register for courses. And like I said, this is typically happening either at the end of June, beginning of July. For graduate students, we encourage you to consult your academic calendar, plan and prepare with your course timetable, and then your graduate coordinator or your supervisor will contact you with further instructions. This communication is almost exclusively done in your Lakehead email, your email account. And so that's why I always encourage students to be familiar with it. Start using it now, start accessing it now so you're familiar. And then as we get these communications from our graduate coordinators, from our supervisors, we're familiar with it and we can properly answer them. So next, chatting and connecting with incoming students. This is a really popular question and I appreciate it for sure. I would like to meet a fellow student who's coming to Lakehead. Maybe you're looking for a student to be a future roommate. Maybe you're looking for a future classmate, so somebody who's pursuing the same program as you. Maybe you're looking for somebody who's coming from the same country, so you have similar journeys ahead of you. That is all fair game. And so we want to make sure that you're connecting with those incoming students and you're going to chat with them, you're going to make friends, and you'll already know a few people that are coming to campus. And so you can join the Lakehead University Incoming Class of 2021 Facebook group. This Facebook group is hosted by a page called Lakehead Life. Lakehead Life is run by our student affairs team here at Lakehead University. And so they'll manage this entire group. You'll have to join the group, answer some questions to get on there, and then you can start communicating. I currently manage last year's group and we have, I believe, almost 500, if not over 500 members on there. And to this day, students still continue to use it, chat about first year courses, chat about professors and tips and tricks to studying online. It's really great to see students connecting. And then of course, in this case, for this year's group, we really hope to see students also connecting and sharing their story and their journey to Lakehead. Another thing that I'm excited to share with you is that coming very soon, you'll have the opportunity to chat and connect with current Lakehead students. So we will invite all prospect students to connect with current Lakehead students and staff via our chat platform called Unibuddy. And so you'll actually have the ability to filter some of these students by their level of study, their program, or the country that they come from. And so on the photo here, you'll see Jonathan and Mun. Jonathan is actually from Mexico, Mun is from India, and so those are just two examples of many students we have on the platform, and you can sort by that. So maybe you're looking to join the business program here at Lakehead. Mun would be a perfect student or one of our business students that you could chat with and hear from her. What has been her experience? What is her advice going into first year business? What has been her favorite courses maybe? Or maybe you are from Mexico and you want to chat with Jonathan and ask him about the journey to Canada. How is the food in Thunder Bay? How is the food in Aurelia? All that sort of stuff you can chat with our students. So this feature is coming soon. If you get email invites to our live events, you will certainly be invited by email to chat on this platform sooner than later. So next we'll move into the question and answer period. And so I know behind the scenes, Paula and Hector have been typing, probably crazily answering as many questions as possible. I will finally open my chat and my Q&A to help you two out, but Hector, I'll pass it to you while I catch up on some of those questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few questions about, can I defer my admission? So one person, or Samara, is asking if she can defer from fall 2021 to winter 2022 or fall 2022. So usually your letter of admission, if it's for an undergraduate program, it'll tell you exactly that the admission offer is valid for fall and winter usually, okay? Fall 2021 and winter 2022. So you could technically start either in the fall or the winter. To defer to fall 2022, you will need to contact our admissions team. You would need to make sure that you accept your offer, you pay the confirmation deposit, and then you contact our admissions team. You can always contact our admissions team or us, and we can guide you through the process as well. Yes, that's the answer for that. Then she's asking if you have a scholarship offer, would that remain? And in theory, yes. Again, our admissions team will issue a new letter of acceptance for the fall 2022, for example, if you decide to defer to the next year, and the letter of admission will let you know if that scholarship has been granted as well. Okay. Can I request a change of course if I feel I can't meet the course or the program requirements after I registered and started my courses? So yes, given that you meet the admission requirements for that specific program you want to change to, you could technically transfer into another program. Again, given that you meet the admission requirements for that program, sometimes there are programs that do not allow transfer students. You would have to apply again to that program. For example, our engineering programs, you would have to apply for our engineering program if you want to transfer into it. There's no transfer into the engineering programs.
Awesome, Hector, I'll jump in here and give you a break there. We have a question from Sita. It says, what are the part-time job opportunities at the university for graduate students? And so instead of answering just for graduate students, I want to acknowledge we have undergrad, grad, and AEP students here. And so I'll answer to all of our international students studying full-time at Lakehead University. There are both on-campus and off-campus jobs available, both in Thunder Bay as well as Aurelia. And so for students that are looking to work part-time while they're studying, that's absolutely an option. That's one of the great things about choosing Canada as your study destination. You are eligible to work up to 20 hours a week while studying at Lakehead University full-time. You can also work full-time hours during any academic breaks. So scheduled breaks. If you're an undergraduate student and you have the summers off in between May and August, you can absolutely work full-time for those 4 months, and that is considered a scheduled academic break. If you're a graduate student, you can also work full-time on some of your academic breaks, such as the fall or winter reading weeks, as well as undergraduate students. But as to opportunities specifically, the range is really wide. So you could have administrative roles, you can work in retail at our local shopping centers, you could be a sales associate, you could technically work in restaurants, be a server, be a line cook. There's really a wide variety of jobs here in Thunder Bay as well as Aurelia. And so it really matters what you're interested in doing and maybe what your experience is. And so Sita, maybe you're coming from South Asia and you have work experience in a restaurant. When you join us here in Thunder Bay or Aurelia, you could potentially become a server at a local restaurant here. And so there's a lot of options for our students. And if you can't find a job right off the bat, don't be discouraged. We have resources to help you prepare and better reflect a top resume. So we have something called the Student Success Center, which is a dedicated space and department here at Lakehead for current students to access career supports, career advising, resume workshops, mock interview, interview tips and styles, all sorts of resources that you can use to better yourself and hopefully secure that best job for you. So another question I wanted to answer, and I think this is a really, really great one. It says, how do we submit a proof of degree if we're currently in the last year of our undergraduate studies while applying for masters? I love this question because it is a common one. Students will not wrap up their undergraduate degree for another month or two, if not longer. And so that proof of degree also takes time for your institution to process and confer that you have met all of the graduate requirements. And so with our graduate admissions team and our graduate studies team in general, they will accept proof of degrees for quite some time. In your offer letter, they might have a specific deadline. So I always encourage students to refer to their letter of acceptance to see whether or not there are any specific deadlines for proof of degree. But once you graduate, once your university or your college confers that degree and you have that official transcript that says that this degree has been achieved or you've achieved a certain level, you can then resubmit those documents to us. Keep in mind, they do have to be official so that we can verify them. And all of this information can be found on our website too. The last question I'll answer before I pass back to Hector is, it's actually related to unofficial and official transcripts. It says, I need to upload an unofficial transcript when I check the applicants. What is the difference between an official and unofficial transcript? So that's a really great question. Right now, given the fact that most of Lakehead University is still working remotely, and we are, of course, abiding by health restrictions and guidelines by the public health authorities for COVID-19, we are being flexible with what documents we can accept as official and unofficial, whether or not we need a physical copy of a document or the institution could potentially email us directly using the institution's email, the transcript, and then we'll accept it as official. There's quite a few varieties here, but it sounds like because you're uploading a document, any and all documents essentially that are uploaded to your MyInfo account will be accepted as unofficial documents. So that means that because you've been able to access the document, maybe you've scanned it, maybe you've taken a photo of it and it's a PDF, you've uploaded it now, we will accept that as unofficial, meaning that we can't verify its validity until we receive it directly from the institution, either by hard copy mail, which we are still receiving, or whether your institution emails us a copy. If you have any questions about that process, if you're confused, if your institution maybe needs a little guidance too, they can happily connect with our admissions team and they will walk them through the process. It is quite simple. Of course, it's easy for me to say though, because I've been helping and guiding students for it for many years now. So if you're confused by the process, don't be thrown off. Please power through and ask the questions you need to know. Raise your hand in the webinars sort of thing, and we'll get you the help you need. So I'll pass it back to Hector to answer some more questions here.
Yeah, that's actually a great segue to the next question, which is, could you please tell us what a conditional offer of admission is? I couldn't understand. So basically, for most students, it'll be the fact that we haven't received your official transcripts, okay? So whether you're at the undergraduate or graduate level, we are making an admissions decisions based on your unofficial transcripts. So until we receive your official transcripts from your academic institution, you will just receive a conditional letter of acceptance or a conditional offer. Once your official documents are received by our admissions department, then we will issue an official offer letter. Okay. Sometimes for undergraduate students, it means that you haven't finished your high school or that you also haven't met the English proficiency. And in that case, it'll be all stated there. There's a deadline for you to meet your conditions of admission. If you need more time, you can always email our admissions teams, and they will work with you to make sure that we have a plan for you to submit those documents or whatever to meet the conditions. Okay.
Awesome. I'm quickly going to jump in here and just acknowledge that we are coming up on 10 o'clock, which is the end of today's webinar. So for the questions that we've been able to get through and Mark that we'll answer, we'll be happy to go through those now. If any new questions do roll in, I encourage you to send them directly to welcome@lakeheadu.ca. I'll put it in the chat for everyone to use and see, but this will be the email that you want to communicate with any further questions now that we are at the end of today's session. So Hector, I'll pass it back to you to answer the last few that you have marked, and then I have a couple as well.
Yeah, well, no, I was just, it looks like a couple of participants just arrived a little bit late, and they are asking, you know, when will I get an admissions decision for my master's program? As we explained earlier during this webinar, it's kind of hard for us to give you an exact timeline on when you will get an admissions decision from our graduate admissions team. So from the moment you submit all of your documents and after we receive the answers from your 3 references, our graduate admissions team will pass your file to the selection committee, and they will assess your application along with all the pool of candidates, and it can take from 3 to 4 weeks to 3 months. It depends, okay? Please check your My Info portal if you have any questions. If you need a status update, they might not be able to tell you where exactly it is, but they will let you know what the last step that your application went into is, and they can give you a time frame, like maybe 5 weeks or something like that, and you can always contact a graduate admissions team to get a status update.
Awesome. I think you have one more towards the bottom, Hector, that you marked as well.
Let's see, sorry.
Maybe it just disappeared on me. Maybe I'll hop in then. Sorry about that.
No, I found it.
Okay.
If we have provided the 3 references, how can I check who actually answered so that is all through My Info, and it'll be on your, if you scroll down to the graduate applicant section, you will see reference status, okay? And then you can change it there. You can even, you will see which ones have replied, and if one of them haven't replied, you can change it, okay?
Awesome. So I have one question from Oscar. It says, is it normal to wait more than 2 months for the Master's in Computer Science program admission decision? And so yes, it actually is. I know that when the application closes, it typically takes roughly 1 to 3 months, like Hector mentioned, after the application closes for our admissions teams to gather all of the applicants, gather all of their information, including the documents they've submitted, and then provide them to the admissions decision committee within the department or the faculty. With that being said, of course, I want to remind you and take this opportunity to say that if you have not submitted all of your documents, so if your application is currently incomplete, maybe some of your references haven't completed their submissions, your application will not move on to that next stage. So it's very important to monitor your outstanding documents and verify whether or not we require more information from you. So with that being said, I'm just scrolling through the questions. It looks like we've answered all the ones that we were able to get to today. I do apologize for those of you that we weren't able to get to. I hope that you'll be able to join us at a future webinar and ask more questions. With that being said, though, I want to remind you to follow us on our social media channels. You can find us at Lakehead International, both on Facebook and Instagram. You can head over to our YouTube, Lakehead University, and there are a few playlists there for our international students, including one where we have all of our recordings from webinars go after the fact, of course. And then you can also take a virtual campus tour. So if you haven't yet seen either one of our campuses, or maybe you've seen a few photos, but you really want to get to know the campus a bit better, explore the labs, the facilities, the residents, head over to lakeheadu.ca/tours and either sign up for a tour, or you can take a virtual campus tour right now with no registration necessary. All you have to do is have a tablet or a mobile device or a laptop, or potentially even a VR headset to take that tour. With that being said, though, I want to thank everyone for joining us. Don't forget to stay connected with us, and please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Hopefully we'll see you at an upcoming session. Again, Wednesday, we're going to be joined with computer science, and you can register now online. Alrighty, folks, bye for now.
Thank you for checking out today's video. If you have any questions, you can always comment below. Stay connected and follow us on our social media channels to stay informed about upcoming webinars and get an insider sneak peek of Lakehead University. See you next time.